Before we start our podcast today, we would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting,
the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and pay our respects to their elders past and present and emerging. And it had been something to do with survival, and it wasn't any longer, and that I didn't need it. So being able to eventually, first off, push it aside and tell it to fuck off. Are we allowed to say that? I just did, and then later on being able to, well, not so much tell it to go away, but to say, yeah, thanks, I hear you, I acknowledge you, which is what you just said. I'm lost. I think we're saying welcome.
That's how we start generally.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yep. Okay,
So you would be Kevin?
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Kevin, and here we are again on our inward journey talking about relationships.
And I'm Janine. Welcome to the podcast.
And
I think you were going to ask a question.
I do. I have a question. My question is, what's the markers for a good relationship? You know, what makes it, I don't know, successful or good, as opposed to rubbish?
It's got everything to do with your relationship with yourself.
So,
if you've got a good relationship with yourself...
That thing again.
Yeah. Then you'll have a good relationship with the people and the world around you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but I'm just trying to think of my next question.
Or reflection.
Oh, yeah. That being the case, then how do I know that I've got a good relationship with myself? I mean, I know there are some obvious things, like, you know, I take care of myself physically.
Yeah. Actually, most people go there. They mostly think about, if I've got a good relationship with myself, I care with myself, I try to eat well, I do meditation, I do... I might go to a physio.
Yeah, I do
some
podcasts.
I do the worky thing.
Yeah. The worky thing.
I think it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
I think it's got to do with if you're critical to you or if you're kind. And it's certainly a journey that I've gone down with myself as well.
So what about if you're 6.5 foot tall and you're male and you're big and you've got a big Harley Davidson, does that still apply?
Why wouldn't it?
Because it's 6.5 foot tall and big, doesn't need anything else. It does still apply, doesn't it?
Absolutely, because it's an inward journey. It's a relationship to the self. And if that person feels good about themselves, they feel confident, loving to themselves, they believe in themselves, however that be, then they'll ride that bike, be in that group confidently, connect well with people. But if they don't believe in themselves and it's, stuff the world, I'll do what I want and I don't care about you, then the relationships are going to reflect that. I think that's what we'll talk about today. What do you reckon, Kevin? Been one of those days, Kevin, hasn't it, where it feels like the IT and the ideas that we have
and the cars
it's just not working. So we're doing a do-over.
Yep.
But the basic concept I wanted to talk about was just one aspect of being close with someone is self-criticism. Because if I'm critical of myself and I get close to somebody else, then they're not going to get too close to me, are they?
No, they won't.
Because I might bite their head off, or I might avoid them, ignore them, dismiss them, because, why would they want to be close to me anyway?
So is it possible to get rid of self-criticism?
Oh, I think it's necessary to get rid of
No,
self.
I mean entirely, so it never happens again?
That's a good question.
I know.
I'm-
I asked it.
I'm not sure, to be honest, but I think you can make a big step in listening to yourself, to notice it and to change it, absolutely. I can't know whether someone is able to completely change their self-talk, and if that's critical to change it to something positive, but they can notice it and therefore change it, therefore make a change in the moment so that they can respond differently.
Yep, I get that. Well, that's where I got to. So my experience is coming from, sexual abuse to being a drug addict to stopping using drugs, but still having all of those underlying issues. In particular, having that talk that says to me, like waking up in the morning going, oh, it's like a little part of me sitting at the end of the bed going, hello, I've been waiting for you, you've been asleep and wasting your time and you're useless, and why don't you get up? Oh, it's too late to get up. And it's like an avalanche of criticism.
Yeah, it
it's
sounds
horrible.
Really cruel and
it's
nasty.
Horrible. It's probably much more than most people get, but becoming aware of that first, that's what that was, that it wasn't actually me, it was a learnt thing.
Yeah.
And it had been something to do with survival, and it wasn't any longer, and that I didn't need it. Being able to first off push it aside and tell it to fuck off. Are we allowed to say that? I just did, and then later on being able to, not so much tell it to go away, but to say, yeah, thanks, I hear you, I acknowledge you, which is what you just said.
Yeah.
So eventually, which is what I've been doing more recently, saying, I hear you, and how about, all of this criticism you've got, how about bringing that and making it something positive with me, joining in with what I'm doing?
I think that's really smart because, as we've talked about before, the self-criticism has been there as a necessary part of your survival.
Yeah.
And that's for all of us. So for whatever reason we're critical of ourselves, you have to take from your environment what you have learnt and use it to better yourself. So if you've got a highly critical environment, then as a child you take some of that criticism and you might use it to push yourself or to stop yourself or whatever it is. And I know that I've certainly done quite a bit of that as well. So, hi Greg, we're recording.
Hi.
Hi, Greg.
I'll leave now.
You bugger off. So that's how we kindly deal with those around us.
Well, not so kindly.
Good thing he knows us. Otherwise we'd be in deep shit.
Well, that's interesting, because if we wouldn't do that to a complete stranger.
No, because then it would be unkind. And that's that unkind thing. And that's what happens. If you're critical of yourself, then you end up being critical of other people.
That's my experience. So when I was in the first stage of, my example of part of me sitting on the end of the bed waiting and being very unkind and very critical, I extended that to the whole of the world, not just everybody else, but almost like anything else, anything at all. Was there anything excluded? No, not when that was going on. Nothing was excluded, so it was fairly bleak, and I think that still happens. Not like that. So that when I'm in the process of catching my self-criticism, I become aware of it, because I'll be doing something like, I don't know, maybe walking down the street behind somebody, going, look at that person. Their feet go outwards when they're walking down the street. And I wonder if everybody walks funny. It's like, it's almost not a criticism, but it is, and it's
a judgment.
It's a judgment. So,
Yeah.
But I catch that, because I know immediately that means that I'm doing something similar to myself.
Yeah, okay.
And so
That's right.
I catch that, and I say, okay, just stay here with me for a moment, and I check what's going on, and go, oh, okay, so you're criticising yourself because you're not okay about part of your body. I can't think of a good example, but you know, as I bring that part of me, bring that criticism back in.
So it's how you experience yourself, you start to experience the world that way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And see, I've got a different example when I can think of, it's a small one, but I like it, when I was going to get some business cards for myself. And I was changing my logo, and I'd gone into a printing agency. And when I went in there, I got them to change a few things. We'd already started the process. And I wasn't completely happy with it, but I'd left it with them. And I started to walk out, and then I went, oh, really not happy. But I heard myself say to myself, you're demanding, that's too pushy, you know, you're overly fussy, that kind of cruel stuff, but mostly you're being too demanding. And then I caught myself and went, oh, actually, no, it's okay, you can do this. So I went back in and I went, actually, can I change a few things? And the person I was dealing with was brilliant and went, of course, and went, la, changed it in a couple of seconds and all done. But had I not caught that thought, the risk for me is that messaging stays and it impacts a lot, if not everything, that I do, and that kind of stuff can affect everything that we do.
Yeah, because that message stays and we get resentful and we pass that around everywhere we go.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good example of what it is, and then how to bring it back in and do something about it.
Yeah.
To change things.
Yeah.
To change things internally allows us to change things externally.
The other part of that, as I'm thinking about it, and in the two examples that we've given, one from you and one from me, is that...
One from Greg too.
It's great getting extra help, isn't it? We better seize okay a bit later. We'll do that. And now I've completely lost my train of thought. Is that if we don't catch those messages, what we start to do is view the world as, I didn't get the card I wanted, that person wasn't going to help me out doing what I wanted, they weren't supportive, they weren't helpful, they didn't do their level of work or detail that I wanted with my business card, or in your case it might be, that person wasn't as kind to me as I want, or they looked at me in a way that I'm sure that they were judging my body. So you kind of start to externalize what you're experiencing internally. You're smiling.
Yeah, you gave the last part of that example about me, and I was thinking, it took me such a long time, I'm too embarrassed to say how long, before I realised that on the rare occasions when I caught a woman looking at me, it might be because she was checking me out, not because she was judging me.
And you'd missed these opportunities.
I did. Oh, that's another opportunity to write down later on. And also, I don't know where I got the habit from, and it was a good habit, and it still is. I make daily to-do lists. So at some point, some years ago, the daily to-do lists were made and not really looked at all. And then I heard in a podcast, actually, a woman talking about, on your to-do list, write down, give it a number. So, somewhere between +10 and -10. And then, according to +10 is, I'm really looking forward to doing this, and -10 is, oh my God. And then as part of taking care of myself, actually doing that, and gradually changing the minus whatever it was to become a plus. So again, changing that about how I feel about myself by having it there, and then by bringing it back again, having it out in front of me and then bringing it back into me again.
So I guess we're expanding this talk around saying, how I care for myself is not only the helpful, supportive self-talk that we offer ourselves, and if we don't, noticing it and changing it if we can, finding ways to change it, finding things to change it too, but also to be conscious of what we're doing for ourselves, and in a way that's, you know, helpful for the day, if you like, if not the week and the months, etc., etc. And the only thing that you can change is that relationship to yourself, and therefore it will change those relationships that you have outside of yourself.
Yeah, because it has to.
It has to.
It just does, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is a lot less energy than trying to change everybody else in the whole world too.
I give that one up.
Yeah, I think I have. I hope I have. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been running programs and with a group of people, and one of the things I'm really confident is I can't make anybody listen to me. I hope that I'm worthy of listening to, but if they choose not to listen to me, that's their right, and I'm comfortable with it.
So, how we are with ourselves can draw people to us or push them away.
Yeah, that's a good place to leave it. So thanks for listening, and that's goodbye from me.
And that's goodbye from me too.
We'll see you, and hopefully you'll come and listen to us next time. Bye.